Call David Seymour, 5 minutes.
Mr Speaker, when the member who just resumed her seat apologised for her state of mind, I thought she was just being gracious, but as her speech proceeded, I realised she had actually been quite honest. Mr Speaker, I rise in support of this bill, but it is somewhat regrettable to be here discussing it so late at night to make a number of technical changes to the dimensions, not the process, not the people involved, not the accountabilities, but the dimensions of the hearings of objections to the Auckland Unitary Plan. It is a very small technical change that is being made to this bill. And it is worth reflecting, Mr Speaker, on quite why this small technical change to the dimensions of the process, not the process itself, are actually required. And the reason, Mr Speaker, is that in order to meet the statutory requirements for a new plan, we're going to have to change the balance between the demand for hearings from Aucklanders and a lot of people from the Epsom electorate who have hearings required under the PAUP process on the one hand, and the supply of people to do the hearings and hear their objections on the other. And the reason that there's this imbalance of supply and demand is ultimately that the planners at Auckland Council have attempted to impose upon the people of Auckland is so at odds with the natural growth of a city and with the preferences of Aucklanders for how their city will grow and develop. Mr Speaker, at the base of the problem is actually epistemology, the fatal conceit on the part of the planners that they know what the correct density of Auckland should be in 30 years' time, how people should live, how they should work, how they should travel, and that the planners are able to tell us what sort of housing and how our particular communities should grow, regardless of what our preferences for those communities might be. And this hearings process is an opportunity for the people of the Epsom electorate and the people of Auckland more broadly to be heard, and the planning orthodoxy that with which we've been confronted has been so out of whack with how the city should grow that we find ourselves here late at night in the House being heckled by simpletons in order to increase the supply of hearing time to meet the demand from people who wish to object to this conceitful plan that would change the shape of our city were it allowed to, strangling the supply of housing to Aucklanders, pushing up the price of housing and leaving us in a situation where we have to be here late at night to write what is a simple technical matter. So, Mr Speaker, I'm here to support this bill because it allows the people of the Epsom electorate and the people of Auckland to have their say in this planning process. But it would be a far better world, Mr Speaker, if we had a model of growth for cities where the planning profession were put back in their box, where they were there to respect the desires of communities rather than conceitedly impose models of development upon them. Where we had a situation where cities grew organically based on the property rights and the expectations of people who are already in those cities, where we did not have Byzantine rural-urban boundaries at the perimeter of the city strangling the supply of housing to Auckland, where the city could continue to expand and give people big backyards in which big dreams could grow up. And yet we're here in order to give the people of the Epsom electorate and the rest of Auckland the opportunity to have more time to contribute their views about how they'd like their community to develop across Auckland City into the future. And with that, Mr Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.